coaching this generation's real estate superstars. Harris Real Estate University.
And then what about, does that affect all your maintenance and improvements and that sort of thing that you deduct as well?
Yeah, and that's just on top of all of that.
That is
right?
on top.
Now, the reason I like depreciation so much is it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
You know, when you fix the roof, you had to write a check for it.
Right.
But when we start being able to front-end load our depreciation, and plus time when we're going to do that, you see how it just becomes this great tool? You have a big year, all of a sudden you're going to take a bunch of depreciation. And in the end, you don't get any extra. Just so we're real clear on that, you don't get any extra, but you get to time it and you get to front-end load it.
On the sale of that asset with that personal property that you're supercharging, is there recapture?
Yeah, you have recapture on depreciation when you sell it. So if you sell it at a gain, then you have the recapture. But I mean, just to throw that in there, the tax on recapture of depreciation is a lower tax. So I mean, it's kind of like you're not going to get hit with huge taxes. Now, at this moment, we don't know what's going to be happening with capital gains and what the rates are going to be, and so it's hard to say. I think that it would be coming to the time when you might be looking at doing a 1031 or roll into something else. When you're trying to make the decision on whether to do a 1031 or just take the sale, it's just a question of math. What's the rate now? What are we going to pay versus when we roll it over? The one danger when you start rolling properties is 15, 20 years down the line, as you keep depreciating and rolling, you end up with something with very low basis. And that, again, is the risk if you start this plan of buying real estate, is in about 5 years, you're going to need to buy more real estate. And because you're always going to be sheltering that income. And then you reach the point where you don't work anymore and all you've got is real estate. And at that point, you've got tax returns that are pretty much zero. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you come home with me, please?
So the part that's cool, I mean, we're talking about it for you, but if you have clients that are heavy in investing and buying, if they qualify, this is something to share with them as well.
What would make you not qualify for that cost segregation?
Well, the problem with the cost segregation, I mean, not the problem, but you could front-end load your depreciation, yeah, and you end up with this loss that, I'll pick on the doctor. It's the doctor who's the high-income guy who doesn't qualify as a real estate professional. But along that story, and I'm not telling you guys to go out and give tax advice by any means, but I had a client who was in Miami, and he was a cardiologist, very high income. And they were buying apartment buildings. And his wife worked part-time as a nurse because she just wanted to keep doing something. Well, they were buying apartment buildings. They had losses that we were able to create that didn't do a bit of good to him because he was such a high-income earner. So what we did is counseled that his wife quit her job, which is, gee, the day you get that news, that's kind of nice. Not only will you quit your job, but you're going to have more disposable income when you do. So quit her job, and then she took over the managing with the property managers and the contractors and the designers and handling all of that. So she then qualified as a real estate professional. And because of that, they got to pick up a huge amount of loss against his income, which in their case, they didn't go spend on fancy boats, they just bought more apartment buildings. Now, the interesting thing is within 3 years, because they were pretty aggressively buying, they were making as much cash flow from these apartment buildings as he was as a doctor. And they did it on the IRS's nickel because they paid less tax and then just took that money and put it away. Isn't that cool? Yeah. Yes?
Is the reason you're living in Mexico for tax reasons or
Actually, Tim loves to give that. We also have a place in Reno. I want to point that out. However, why do we live in Nevada? Yeah, somebody else said Nevada. But I did go to UNR, University of Nevada, Reno, so I do have ties to Nevada. But yeah, we have a place down in Baja, and we are right on the beach. We're at 6 Mile white sandy beach, and we're 15 steps. And on high tide, it'll come up to like the 8th step. So I mean, it's beautiful. We typically, you think of it just as a summer place. So this last year we tried it all year and said, you know what, it's pretty nice here. So I think we're staying down there.
How long did it take you to drive there to here?
We got to the border at 6 o'clock.
6 a.m. Okay. But we stopped and had breakfast too.
Through the
so-
border, it's 7:30.
Yeah, it took an hour and a half to the border. We hit it right at the rush hour at the border.
For free daily coaching, go to timandjulieharris.com. Harris Real Estate University.